Hello, and welcome to the lecture series on automobile engineering. In this lecture, we'll discuss about the suspension system, especially focus on independent suspension system. So, the types of suspension system that are generally used in automobiles include conventional suspension system, that is basically a rigid axle suspension system. Others are independent suspension system, air suspension system, and hydrostatic or hydroelastic suspension system. So to start with the conventional suspension system, in which we have a vehicle with rigid axle suspension that may come across a bump on the road or some irregular surface. So what happens, the axis tilts and the wheel will not remain as a vertical. So this causes the whole of the vehicle body to tilt on one side, okay, from the bottom end. So such a position is undesirable because it will tilt the passengers also, and goods may be tilted to one side. So apart from causing rough ride, it causes wheel to wobble. So due to tilting of the vehicle, the road adhesion is also decreased. So in order to avoid this certain condition of wheel wobbling as well as tilting of the vehicle, so the wheels are sprung independent of each other, so that tilting of one does not affect the other. And this the independent suspension also has the certain advantages. Okay, this method is known as doing that independent suspension. So what happens in case of independent suspension? Both the front and the rear wheels are utilized for suspension purpose. So when wheel goes down, the other wheel does not have much effect on it. Okay, so it is independently transmitted to a single wheel only. So what's the benefit of an independent suspension system? As we can see that the elastic strain energy per unit spring weight that is being stored in the coil spring or torsion bar is more than the semi elliptical leaf spring. So this causes the springs to be lighter in weight, and hence by using the independent suspension system, the overall unsprung weight becomes lighter. Okay, unsprung weight is that weight which is not sprung over the springs. So this is one of the biggest advantage, that the overall weight of the suspension system goes down. So this reduced unsprung weight reduces the tire scrub, and hence the life of the tire may be improved. Softer springs without increasing rolling lead to ride comfort. Okay, passengers feel comfort while riding over the vehicle. Springs are fitted in locations to under steer condition insurance. Steering geometry is unaffected while the wheel is tilted, because only one wheel will be tilted, and certain suspension systems are available in which the tilting of one wheel will not affect the steering geometry, like camber caster. Yes, some possibilities are there in which these factors are unaffected. So due to unaffecting of these factors, the correct steering condition is maintained under all conditions, like during turning, during moving straight ahead, during facing a bump, or inside a pit. So that will remain same. So engine and chassis frame can be placed lower uh, at a lower height as compared to uh, the dependent suspension system, and this provides more weight to the passengers. So we can see here the difference between dependent suspension and independent suspension. In this case, if some wheel, if one of the wheels goes under a bump, so that will be tilted, and due to this tilting, the entire system will be tilted. This will also be affected. But in that case of independent suspension, this will not be affected. So this goes on a bump. So because these are separated by each other using suitable mechanism, like here we are having this wishbone type of system. So this is separate and this is separate. So the disturbance at one end will not be transmitted to the other end. So this also shows the same principle in which the entire system is disturbed due to the presence of a bump on the road, and this is independent suspension which is unaffected. So basically, the front wheels as well as rear wheels are made independent, and basically the front wheels are more necessarily maintained with independent suspension system. So the common types of suspension system that is used in the front wheel is wishbone or parallel link type, MacPherson strut type, vertical guide, trailing link, swinging half axle type suspension. We'll see one by one. So in this case of independent suspension, which is known as wishbone, so why it is called as wishbone? Because as we can see, this upper wishbone is shaped like letter V, okay, or uh, the fish that is having a bone in terms of letter V. So there is a lower wishbone and there is another upper wishbone, and these are connected by means of this mechanism with the kingpin, and here the tire is fitted, wheel and tire, and in between these wishbones we have a shock absorber and a spring. This is coil spring, okay, and these are pivoted over here. So what we have seen, the upper and lower wishbone arms are pivoted to the frame, okay, so we can see here these wishbones are pivoted over the frame. So springs fitted between lower and upper end wishbone and upper side of the cross member. So vehicle weight transmitted from body and the cross member to coil spring, then to the lower wishbone arm. So here the vehicle weight will be acted upon, and this is connected to the frame. So shock absorbers placed inside the coil spring attached to the cross and lower wishbone member. So here we have a shock absorber. So in the entire system we can see that if this tire faces a bump or irregularity over the road surface, that will not be transmitted to the other side, and this way this system also ensures a comfort ride to the passengers sitting inside the car or the vehicle. So here is another example in which we have a spring, a damper system. This is upper wishbone, this is lower wishbone, and this may also be used, okay, because these are separated by each other. So this is also a wishbone type suspension system which is independent in nature, having the coil springs. So other type is MacPherson strut type independent suspension system. So in that case we can see that only lower wishbone is there, only one wishbone, and on the upper side we have a strut containing shock absorber. Okay, this is the strut in which the shock absorber is fitted and springs are installed over here, and that is fitted over the vehicle's body, okay, and that is the body member. So the unique feature is that only we have one wishbone, that is lower wishbone, and this strut that is fitted over here contains shock absorber and spring and stub axle on which this wheel is mounted. So wishbone is hinged to the cross member, and that resists the acceleration, braking and side thrusts. So this is light and less unsprung weight. Entire system is light because we have avoided this upper system, so the entire weight of the system becomes less. So in this case we can say that the camber angle does not change when it passes over a bump. So this gives maximum space for engine mounting, okay, because it occupies less space. So if it is fitted in the front wheel side, then the space will be more for the engine fitment, and this is used in four-wheel drive cars, and we can see this system in Maruti 800 cars, and this is also used with anti-roll bars in case of Volkswagen Jetta and Passat. So next one is the vertical guide suspension system, that is also an independent suspension system used in the front wheels of the cars. So the constructional part contains the cross member, the steering knuckle, there is a coil spring, kingpin and upper spacing rod. So here we can see that the kingpin is attached directly to the frame's cross member. Okay, so here we can see the attachment. This can slide up and down because we have fitted a coil spring. So in this case we can say that the wheel track, wheelbase and altitude remains same. Okay, there is no change of wheel track or wheelbase or altitude, but there is some issue with the stability. okay, because that these two members are connected. So when one tire is loaded or is passing through bump, there may be some stability issue. Then comes the trailing link suspension system. In this we can see that there is a kingpin hole for fitting the kingpin. This is the trailer link, and this is multiplate shock absorber, a sort of shock absorber. This arm for brake torque. This is for bearing the brake torque. When the brakes are applied, this bears the braking torque. So there is a horizontal coil spring. This is a horizontal coil spring, and this is the side member of the frame. So in this case of trailing link suspension, what happens? A coil spring is attached to trailing link. Okay, that we have seen. Okay, that trailing link is basically attached to the shaft carrying the wheel hub. Okay, so what happens at bumps? Basically, it winds and unwinds the spring. The coil springs get wounded and unwounded while facing a bump and while leaving the bump. So camber may be affected in that case, but the wheel track remains constant, and that is similar wheel track is maintained under all conditions. So due to this effect that the camber affected, it is limited. It finds limited use in case of automobiles because the camber may affect the tire wear properties. So camber should not be affected while in motion or while facing a bump. Next classification is the swinging half axle suspension. As the name suggests, we can see here the axle is broken into two parts. Okay, and these are pivoted over here. So we have a McPherson type of that system in which we have a shocker, we have coil springs. So in this case, we can see that the wheels are mounted rigidly on the half axles, and these half axles are pivoted at the mid. Okay, at the middle of the vehicle. Okay, so we can feel here that while moving a bump, the right side tire lifts up, but it will not affect the left side tire. Okay, so bumps, pits may cause change in camber angle. So this has again got some limitation to be used widely used as a independent suspension system in front wheel drives, front wheels. So now talking about the rear wheel independent suspension system, uh, it is also important to use suspension system in rear wheel drives and rear wheels. In fact, uh, although we can say that the rear wheels do not require any steering, we don't want to steer the rear wheels. We only used to steer the front wheels. So, but we need to maintain independency in the rear wheels also, because we don't want to transmit the shocks of the road to entire vehicle through rear wheels. So rear wheel independence may also be beneficial in some cases. So this is the common system in which we are using a spring, and A, these two are the A and B are the universal coupling, and C is the sliding coupling. So this makes the wheel track constant. So that is a general principle by which we can maintain the rear wheel as independent suspension rear wheel. So this may also be used. Now talking about the air springs. So what is the benefit of using air springs? Basically, air suspension are coming into prominence because of certain advantages that they possess over the conventional metal springs. So these advantages are like variable space for wheel deflection is put to optimize use by virtue of the automatic control devices. So because the vehicle altitude is also constant, changes in headlamp alignment due to varying loads are avoided. Okay. The spring rate varies much less between the leaden and unleaden conditions as compared with that of conventional steel springs. So this reduces the dynamic loading. So this is the benefit, and the improved standard of ride comfort and noise reduction attained with the air spring reduces both driver and passengers fatigue. So this is important. That's what we are preferring the air suspension system. So here we have shown that there are two types of air springs. First is bellow type air spring, and other is piston type of air spring. Okay, so these are basically operated by using the compressed air. So in this system, an air compressor takes the atmospheric air. So here we can see that. So in these systems here, it is fitted over this location, air suspension bag. So in that case, we can see that an air compressor takes the atmospheric air through a filter and compresses it to a pressure of about 240 megapascal, at which pressure the air in the accumulated tank is maintained, which is also provided with a safety relief valve. Okay, so that accumulator is provided with a pressure relief valve so that it should not burst under high pressure condition and will maintain a required pressure like 240 megapascal. So this high pressure air goes through the lift control valve and the valves to the air springs. Okay, the lift control valves is operated manually by means of a handle on the control panel through a cable running from the valve to the handle. So this can be understood using this particular diagram. So here we have air, outside air, through filter it is sent to the compressor. It maintains a it compresses the air to a high pressure of 240 megapascal. Then it goes to the air accumulator where it is acting like a receiver, and there is a relief valve because the pressure should not exceed up to a certain limit, and also it allows the air to pass through this line only when the sufficient pressure is maintained. So from here, relief valve, it goes to the lift control valve, and we have supply linings for the front wheel and for the rear wheels. So these are the front wheels, and here the springs are fitted on both wheels, and rear wheels springs are fitted. Okay, as this way we can see that the air springs are fitted over here. So these are being used by or operated by compressed air. Okay. Then comes the hydrostatic suspension system or hydroelastic suspension system. So in that hydroelastic suspension system, there is a displacer unit, and that is fitted at each of the four wheels. The displacer unit are all interconnected by means of fluid. And in that displacer unit, that shows a displacer unit, rubber is used as a spring, whereas fluid under pressure acts as a dampening medium. Okay. The stem is connected to the wheel through suitable linkage so that its movement is proportional to up and down movement of the wheel. So here also a two-way valve assembly controls the up and down fluid flow. So the upper valve opens up when the fluid pressure below rises sufficiently. Similarly, the lower valve allows the fluid to pass in the downward direction under pressure. So these two valves in total are assembled at right angles to each other. So what happens when the piston moves up due to the movement of the wheel? The diaphragm pushes the fluid up through the opening by pushing the damper valve. So the fluid under pressure above the valves then compresses the rubber, which acts as a spring. Okay, that is simple principle. So that is based on hydroelastic suspension. So there is a spelling error. It's hydroelastic. It's hydroelastic suspension system. So now talking about the hydrogas suspension system. This is also known as hydropneumatic suspension system. So the difference in the displacer unit is the only difference between the hydroelastic and hydrogas. So in older systems, fluid was used in displacer unit with a rubber spring cushion built in that we have discussed. But in hydrogas, the rubber spring is removed completely. In that case, the fluid still exists, but the above the fluid there is now a separating membrane or diaphragm, and above that is a cylinder or sphere where is charged with nitrogen gas. So in that case, we use nitrogen gas in place of some fluid. So the nitrogen section is what has become the spring and dampening unit, whilst the fluid is still free to run from the front to the rear units and back. So in that case, we can see the difference between hydroelastic and hydrogas suspension. Hydroelastic and hydrogas displacer. So the difference that we have seen is only here we have, in case of hydrogas displacer, we have nitrogen gas in the upper diaphragm, okay, over the upper diaphragm. So this is only the difference. So other types of suspension systems, this is a SAE vehicle, okay, that is developed in-house, and we have the Fox suspension fitted over here, and we have double wishbone arms, upper and lower ends. So this is also used in rough terrains. So other types are multi-link suspension system. So it's basically used in the Audi A8 and A4 amongst other cars. The principle is same, but instead of solid upper and lower wishbones, each arm of the wishbone is a separate item. Okay, so here we can see multi-link suspension, multiple links are there. So these links are joined at the top and bottom of the spindle, thereby forming the wishbone shape. Okay, but we cannot say that this is a wishbone type, but several links are forming a wishbone structure. The super weird thing about this is that as the spindle turns for steering, it alters the geometry of the suspension by torquing all four suspension arms. So that is the limitation. So spring is separate from the shock absorber. So these are also in practice in some of the cars, they are being used. So now we'll summarize the advantages and disadvantages of using the independent suspension system in front wheels. So we have seen that bigger deflection of front wheels, no reaction on steering, that is the advantage. Greater distance for resisting rolling action will be there by using the independent suspension system. Front axle improves road holding tendency of the tires because it will not be lifted due to bump, and minimum vibrations are encountered in case of front independent suspension systems. But there are certain limitations like better shock absorber are required. So shock absorbers must be used of higher quality, and in fact these will be expensive because we are using wishbones, we are using springs, we are using dampers or shock absorbers. So tire wear increases due to transmission of torque, okay, because the torque is being transmitted to the tires directly, so that will affect the tire wear. So there are benefits of using the independent suspension system in rear wheel drives or rear wheels also, and that is the less unsprung weight that improves the ride and reduces the tire wear. Other is increased passenger space due to compactness of the entire system. Rear wheel remains stable as compared to the dependent suspension system, but limitations are again the increased cost, design complicated, and steering action is not proper. So some other systems like traverse suspension system is also used. So this basically, as we can see from this diagram or image, this basically combines the features, okay, combines independent double wishbone suspension with a half leaf spring. So these two features are installed in traverse suspension system. So there is a half leaf spring, or we can say semi elliptical leaf spring, and there are two wishbone on both the sides. So it involves one leaf spring mounted across the vehicle, connected at each other end to the lower wishbone. So the center of the spring is connected to the front subframe in the middle of the car. Okay. So this is also used, but a complicated arrangement and will not be able to withstand very heavy loads. So one more important device is left. So that is very important. This red part shows the torsion bar, and this is cut section of the torsion bar. We can understand from here. So what happens? This part of the torsion bar is fitted over the car's frame. Okay. So just imagine what happens when this tire goes over a bump. So this will lift up, and this bar will be twisted. So that's why it is called as torsion bar. So in this image we can see that this is a frame, okay, this is the torsion bar, and this is floated over bearing, and this is wheel arm, axle casing, and wheel hub spindle. So when a load will be applied over here, so this will be twisted. So this has the torsional property. Okay, so we'll summarize the working of torsion bar here. So this torsion bar is often used with the independent suspension system. So this is simply a rod that acts in torsion and takes shear stresses only. So these torsion bars uses the twisting properties of a steel bar to provide a coil spring like performance. Okay. So materials generally used for fabricating the torsion bar is heat treated alloy spring steel. In that case, one end of the bar is anchored to the wheel frame that we have seen in this figure. Okay. The other end is attached to a wishbone, which acts like a lever and that moves perpendicular to the torsion bar. So while facing a bump, the vertical motion is transmitted to the wishbone through the levering action to the torsion bar. So this torsion bar then twists along its axis to provide the spring force that we have seen here. So this will be fixed over here on the frame. So while moving up down, this will be twisted. Torsion bar will be twisted. So these are the references used for the discussions. Thank you so much.